Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Straight from Bangkok. I wanted to put this live stream together just to go back to basics and just give you boys some really hard-hitting pieces of advice that anybody can use today to start cold approaching like an absolute G. So the advice that I'm going to share is going to help you develop that rock star confidence. It's going to help you radiate that action taker aura where you're able to experience success in advance, where speaking with beautiful women is going to feel as natural as drinking water, and you're going to be able to operate from a place of wholeness rather than from a place of lack. So if you've got no idea who I am, then my name's Kristian. I travel the world and I help high achieving, busy city workers get dates on demand through organic attraction. So I don't believe in dating apps. I don't believe in attracting women through grotty nightclubs. I don't believe in strategically trying to get girls through your social circle. And I don't believe in sending 100 DMs a day on social media like a little simp. I believe in the gentleman's way of approaching women. I did my first direct call approach 4 years ago. At that time, I was an absolute mess. I looked like a turnip, I dressed like a moron. I had £24.82 of universal credit in my bank account. I was a porn addict, I had erectile dysfunction, just come out of a long-term relationship, no idea what I was doing, couldn't pull a muscle. And in a relatively short space of time, I've become the best in the world at what I do. I have the best client results in the industry. And you can look at those client results by hitting the link below. That'll take you to my website. Also, you can go over to my Instagram page at Casanova Dating. Lots more testimonials. Evidence has got the loudest voice. Let's do the video. So the first thing that I want you boys to start doing is do the hardest approach first, okay? Do the hardest approach first. So difficulty is relative. Yeah, what is difficult for me might not be difficult for you, but if you can start off your day or your hashtag cold approach session by doing the most difficult approach first, that's going to set you up for the rest of the day. Yeah, so it might be approaching a girl who's with her friend. It might be approaching a girl who's with her mum. It might be approaching a girl in a bookshop. It might be approaching a girl inside of a cafe. It might be approaching a girl outside of a really busy bus station. Decide what your difficult is and then set the intention to do the difficult approach first, because by doing the most difficult approach first, all other approaches are going to feel super easier in comparison for that day. And by leaning into the discomfort, by dive bombing into discomfort immediately, you're going to radiate this action taker aura, which you're then going to be able to translate into all of your successive approaches. So let's say, for example, at the start of today, your first approach of the day is you walking inside of a cafe, complimenting a woman who sat inside of the cafe. So like really inviting the social spotlight onto you. Let's say you just do that. You don't need to have a long conversation. Like the intention might just be to go inside of a cafe and tell a girl inside the cafe that she looks really beautiful and then wish her a good day. By doing that, by dive bombing into discomfort and doing what socially terrifies you, by putting yourself through the social fire, when you come out of that cafe, you're going to feel like an absolute G. You're going to feel unstoppable. You're going to be like, whoa, I just did that. I can't believe that I did that. Now you're going to be tapped in to what I call godly frequency, where you feel as though you can talk to anybody. You feel like an absolute king. You feel as though you can move through the world, and striking up spontaneous conversations feels as natural as drinking water, all because you took that difficult action first. Yeah, so do the hardest approach first. Again, it might be a girl in a cafe, a girl with a friend, a girl with a mum. It might even be a girl who's with her parents. I've actually done that approach. If you type in Kristian Casanova girl with parents, you'll be able to watch that approach. It's just fun, right? It's just fun to get those points on the board. It's fun to get those reps in. Remember, viewing the reps as the reward is the way to eliminate this thing that we call approach anxiety. Okay, if you've got a lot of anxiety built in at the moment, focus on discipline over desire, right? Discipline over desire. Rather than going out to be liked, to be validated, to receive love from the feminine, just go out purely to do the thing. Yeah, rather than going to the gym to get a better body, go to the gym purely to go to the gym. Focus on discipline over desire. You might not feel like cold approaching today. You might not feel like going to the gym. I might not feel like doing a live stream, but belief follows action, right? Belief follows action. As soon as you start doing the thing, then you'll start to want to do it more, right? So do the most difficult approach first. Focus on discipline over desire. The next thing that I want to share with you boys, also that's a good amount of value so far. So if you're taking value from that, then just drop the live stream a like. Just show your appreciation for the value. So the next thing that I wanted to share was, when you are outside and you are going out for your hashtag cold approach session, make sure that you actually place a time limit onto the amount of time that you're spending outside. So I was having a coaching call the other day with a guy, and he was like, yo, Kristian, I went out the other day, but I ended up going out for like 2 or 3 hours, ended up speaking to hardly nobody. And this can often happen. Like when you go out with the intention of cold approaching, oftentimes guys will go out without any plan whatsoever, right? They don't even leave the house with any intention, and then that leads them to parading around the pavements for multiple hours, talking to nobody, getting more and more stuck in their head, and that's when they start to experience failure in advance, psyching themselves out their approaches. So you want to set a time limit, right? Go hard and then go home. So rather than just going outside and being like, okay, today I'm gonna do 7 approaches, okay, but within what time limit? It's way better to say, okay, I'm gonna go out into my city centre this coming Saturday, and I'm gonna aim to do 5 direct cold approaches in 45 minutes. The time limit is more important than the number of approaches, because with this skill set, I'm all about efficiency, okay? The guys who I work with, they're 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs, they're business owners, they're digital nomads, they're investors, they're execs. These are the type of guys who don't have the time to piss away, right? They don't want to be parading around the pavements for 3 hours, talking to maybe one person. We want to prioritize efficiency. That's how you cold approach like a G, right? You want to be going out with a clear plan, a clear intention, go hard, and then go home. So the next time that you go out, what I want you to do, give yourself a time limit, okay? Give yourself a number of approaches and give yourself a time limit to get those number of approaches in, all right? So this coming Saturday, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna do 5 direct cold approaches in 45 minutes. When those 45 minutes come to an end, you finish, right? The time limit is more important than the number of approaches. Even if you get 3 approaches in 45 minutes, you still did 3, so well done, right? Celebrate these wins. This is another way to cold approach like an absolute G. It's actually to start celebrating wins more, right? Because cold approach is tough, right? And I salute anybody who's actually got the balls and the bravery and the courage to put themselves out there. So celebrate your wins. I think it's super easy, especially if you're a high achieving guy like my traditional client, always to be focusing on the next dragon, right? Always chasing the next dragon. So first of all, you get pissed off because you can't approach. Then you can approach, but then your conversations suck balls. Then your conversation starts to get good, but you're ejecting too early. Then you stop ejecting too early, and now you're having longer conversations. But because you've not practiced how to go for phone numbers, you have this like close anxiety where you feel weird about going for phone numbers. Then you can get phone numbers, and then you're pissed off because the numbers are not converting. Then the numbers start converting, the girls stop flaking, then you start going on dates and the dates are shit, and then the dates stop being shit. And it's like, there's always a new dragon to focus on. There's always a new thing. There's always a new pain to get pissed off about. So it's super important on your cold approach journey that you celebrate your wins, that you actually compare yourself to former versions of you and be like, whoa, I've actually come a long way. I think this is why it's a good idea to do what I did in the early days and just create a video diary. So what I did when I first started cold approach in 2020 was I was documenting my journey. So every time that I went out into Leeds city centre during the pandemic, when all I knew was face masks and social distancing, I would make these little video diaries, just like the video that I'm making right now. I would just make it to camera for my private use, and it would enable me to actually track my progress. So like the first time that I went out into Leeds city centre, the very first direct cold approach that I ever did was in the Merrion Centre in Leeds. Represent, if you know, you know. And dude, when I came out of that approach, I just made like a little 15-second video to camera, and I was walking on air. I was like, oh my God, I actually did it. I went outside today with the intention. It was a Saturday, it was the 4th of July 2020. I went outside, I did that first direct cold approach in the Merrion Centre. It was a terrible approach, but I did it, and I celebrated that win. And I felt as though if I could do that, I could do anything. Like that, it's actually mad, but like, that first direct call approach, like me going out into Leeds city centre on the 4th of July 2020, that first direct call approach opened the floodgates to everything that I've achieved. Like without that first direct call approach, I never would have had this channel. I never would have created the Entourage. I never would have developed this multi-independent international lifestyle. I never would have changed the lives that I've changed. I never would have become the version of me that I'm speaking, who's speaking to you today. So it's so crazy. Like one approach can change your entire life. Like one approach can change your entire life. Like just by you going out and taking a difficult action today, you've got no idea where those positive reverberations are going to ricochet in the future. Yeah, like 4 years ago, the person that I was, the person that I've become today, it's been the compounding effect. And this is what I found, the best guys in this game, not just in the dating game, but just in the life game in general, they think long term. They think in terms of decades rather than days. The approaches that we do today, the actions that we take today, the decisions that we make today, we might not see the payoff for another 3, 6, 9, 12 months from now. But it's having faith, right? It's having confidence. I don't know if you ever looked at the etymological roots of that word confidence, but it comes from Latin. So it's confidence, which means with faith, all right? With faith. So being confident means having faith in yourself. So I define confidence as optimism in the absence of certainty. Okay, optimism in the absence of certainty. This is how you cold approach like a G. It's by having optimism in the absence of certainty. It's by having faith in your own capabilities. When I first started this whole thing 4 years ago, I didn't really have a great deal of certainty. I didn't have a lot of value. I was getting comments on the regular from guys telling me how ugly I was. I didn't really have a lot going for me. I was one of those low-level losers, the sort of guy who, I see it in guys who comment on my videos today, guys who were just in pain, guys who were struggling, guys who were sad, guys who were depressed. I was that guy 4 years ago. But even though I didn't have certainty, I had optimism in the absence of certainty. I knew that if I just outworked my self-doubt, if I just kept putting the reps in, if I kept putting myself out there, putting myself through the social fire, then amazing things could happen. And they did. Yeah, everything that I wanted to happen has come true because I had radical, relentless ambition. I just didn't stop. I've just done more approaches than anybody else. I've been at this whole game of social expertise now for the best part of 15 years. Yeah, I spent a decade as a close-up magician, but cold approach was still difficult to me. I was used to performing for people, like approaching people with a pack of cards in my hand, like, hey, can I show you magic? If they rejected me, it was like, oh, they just rejected my magic. With cold approach, it was different. It was like, if I'm gonna put myself in front of a woman and she's like, no, thank you, that hurt my ego, right? But that's how we get through it, right? You get through it by going through it. I think cold approach is the ultimate destruction of the ego. You will forge a new identity through the fires of adversity, but I think just that compounding effect is so crucial. Understand that the approaches that you do today, they are investing, right? They are investments into the identity of the version of you who you want to embody. That bold, risk-taking maverick who refuses to settle for a life of mediocrity, who goes after what he wants rather than settling for what he thinks he can get, and is the sort of person who is oozing that rock star confidence. But again, belief follows action. Yeah, so go out today, do the hardest approach first, set yourself a time limit, focus on discipline over desire. And the final thing that I'll say, start spending more time outside, right? The amount of guys who I work with, and they're just not spending enough time outside, right? They're taking a lot of meetings or on a lot of Zoom calls, they're hunched over behind their laptop like 10 hours a day. We need to get outside more, right? The game of life, the social game, the social arena is outside. It's not inside your cozy apartment, which has got underfloor heating. It's outside, right? Getting outside more, spending more time outside, more time in the real world. And also that means less time on the internet. I think the internet makes the world out way more worse than it actually is. You've got all of these moronic commentators online who are just brainwashing guys, feeding them all of this bullshit, like, oh, it's all about looks, money, status. If you're not a 6'7", hyper masculine, uber 15 raw egg a day giga chad, then your dating life is over. You're never going to be able to attract women if you don't have an 8-pack and you're not driving 8 Bugattis and you don't live in a penthouse in Dubai. Oh, it's over for you. As I do, it's just complete bollocks. And any guy who's got a slither of common sense, any guy who's actually spent time in the real world, any guy who's actually spent time in the trenches knows that this marketing is just destroying the confidence of men, right? So less time on the internet, more time in the real world. Start getting outside more, start spending more time in the social arena. And a really great exercise that you boys can do, especially if you're someone who's got a lot of resistance towards talking to new people at the moment, is just set the intention to just start making more eye contact with more people more often. Yeah, so when you're walking down the street, rather than being on your phone, rather than listening to podcasts, rather than watching videos, like looking at the floor as if you're looking for fucking pennies, just like literally physically start looking up, right? Like start walking strong, start carrying yourself like a king, start acting as if you already are that version of you who you want to be. That's how I did it 4 years ago. I just had a clear vision of who I wanted to be. I had delusional optimism and irrational confidence. I just started acting as if I already was that person. I remember listening to an interview with Jordan Belfort, you know, the Wolf of Wall Street guy. And he was like, if you want to become rich, act as if you already are rich, and then you will become rich. Now, obviously, it's not as simple as just sat like cross-legged on your floor, lotus flower position, being like, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. No, actions need to match ambitions. But I think that this is a great mental gateway to becoming that version of you. Like, have a clear idea of who you want to become and then start acting as if you already are that person. It's like in the Bible, as a man thinketh, so is he. Pray as if it's already been done. This is actually what all of the religious texts agree upon. They all agree in this notion of acting as if you already are that person, of operating from that place of wholeness rather than from that place of lack, of acting in accordance with the identity of the person who you intend to embody. And by the way, I go super deep on all of this stuff in my free online course. So it's called My Most Fuckable Man course. You can download it by clicking the link below. I go super deep on mindset, on like mindset mastery in a game, actually becoming that version of you who you want to become. So yeah, I go super deep in that course. Download it if you've not done so already. We just start making more eye contact. Walking down the street, carrying yourself strong, carrying yourself like a king, acting as if you already are that person. And then if you do start getting confident, or when you start getting confident, making eye contact, and then when you see beautiful women and you make eye contact and you hold the gaze and you allow them to break it, if you get the vibe that one of the women who you make eye contact with is receptive, if you really want to cold approach her like a G, make the eye contact, let her walk past you, and then circle back and be like, hey, I just saw you checking me out. I just wanted to say you look amazing, or I just saw you checking me out. I'm not just a piece of meat, you know, I've got feelings and shit. You look amazing, right? Really audacious, really bold. I've got an infield video on my channel. I'll link it below actually. It's like a warm approach. So a woman who I made eye contact with in London, that's literally how I approach her. Like, hey, I just saw you checking me out. That's audacious, that's bold, that's funny. That's like that action taker aura where you're just gonna blow her away within the first few seconds, all because you've been practicing making eye contact more. Yeah, so just start making eye contact more. Start going through the world with a smile on your face. Stop taking all this shit so seriously. One day, it's going to be space dust and ashes. In 100 years, none of this is going to matter, right? This is liberated nihilism, the understanding that nothing matters in the most liberating way possible. So whilst we're alive on this earth, let's not die with our music still inside of us. Let's not be another one of the mind-dead masses who sleepwalks his way through life and wakes up when his best years are behind him. So the blueprint that I've laid out here, this is how you cold approach like a G. Yeah, focusing on discipline over desire, setting yourself a time limit, going out into your city center one day this week, aiming to do 5 direct cold approaches in 30 minutes. Go hard and then go home. Start making eye contact with more people. Start acting as if you already are that version of you. Download My Most Fuckable Man course so I can give you that clear, detailed roadmap on how you can actually become that version of you who you want to embody. Reps, 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 reps. The reps are the reward. Yeah, remember that. The reps are the reward. Even if you don't feel like cold approaching, do it anyway. Belief follows action, right? Belief follows action, because The universe is watching. The universe wants to see that you're serious, because that's what happens. Like, if you start asking for things from the universe, it will test you. It will give you opportunities. So if you say to the universe, I want to have a thriving dating life, I want to be getting dates on demand with gob-smackingly gorgeous girls, the sort of women who turn heads as soon as we walk into a venue together, I want to become an absolute killer with cold approach, the universe is going to be like, okay, let's see if you're serious. The universe is going to start handing you opportunities. Beautiful women are going to start walking past you. What are you going to do? Are you going to cry, or are you going to conquer? Are you going to wallow, or are you going to win? And just remember, the reps are the reward, right? The achievement is in the attempt. The pleasure is in the pursuit, and the success is in the showing up. Yeah, just aim to be 1% better than you were yesterday. We are against ourselves. Play the long game. Yeah, don't think too short term. Play the long game. Remind yourself, all of these approaches, you are investing into the identity of the person who you want to embody. And then 3, 6, 9, 12 months from now, your future self is going to look back at the person who you are today, the version of you who's watching this live stream, and he's going to be like, thank you. Thank you so much for taking that radical action. Thank you so much for separating yourself from the 99% of guys who are just not trying. So I really hope that you boys have found this video useful. If you have done, then drop it a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will speak with you boys tomorrow. Mwah!